Hello, in this video we're going to go through the extra help video for 5.3.5. And so the first thing I'm going to start with is at the top I'm going to write my discriminant formula. So b squared minus 4ac is my discriminant. And then sometimes I also like to write a little like cheat sheet to myself. So even like right at the start of a test before I even start it, I'll write this down so I remember it. If we have two solutions, we are going to be greater than 0. If we have no solutions, we are going to be less than 0. And if we have one solution, we're going to be equal to 0. So that's kind of the basis of this idea, is that for any of these solution types, we're going to be either greater, less than, or equal to 0 with our discriminant formula. This first one says determine the values of k to allow that quadratic two real solutions. So two real solutions means greater than 0. And so that means I'm going to set this up to be greater than 0. So b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0. And then I'm going to go ahead and plug in my a, b, and c. So a is k, b is 4, and c is negative 8. Don't forget the negative. And so when I plug those in, I want to plug everything in inside parentheses, including k. And then I can start simplifying, because my goal is to get k by itself. I want to figure out what k needs to be. So when you simplify, it's important that you treat this as its own piece and then this as its own piece. You can't simplify like this and this together because those are separate pieces. So 4 squared gives me 16. And then here, even though these are separated by k, all of these three are being multiplied, so I can reorder this however I want. So I can do negative 4 times negative 8 to give a positive 32, and then have k at the end is greater than 0. So then we would want to subtract 16 from both sides to get 32k is greater than negative 16. And then divide both sides by 32. And remember, if you ever divide by a negative number, you would want to flip your sign. But I'm dividing by positive 32. It does not matter that 16 is negative. The thing that I'm dividing by in pink is not negative, so we don't flip the sign. So we leave the sign the same, and we get negative 0.5. So this is saying anything bigger than negative 0.5, if I plug that into my original, will give me two real solutions. So that is my answer. So now let's do one more. So this one says, for which values of k would this equation have only one real solution? So one real solution is equal to 0. So I'm going to set up my discriminant formula equal to 0. And then let's go ahead and identify a, b, and c. So a is 2, b is 12, c is k. So when I plug those in, I want to plug them in inside parentheses. So 12 squared minus 4 times 2 times k equals 0. And this is where it's really tempting to like type this all in your calculator, these first 4 things, but you can't. This is its own thing, and so is this. So we have to simplify this as a piece and then this as a piece before we can do anything together. So 12 squared is 144. Negative 4 times 2 is minus 8. Then I can get rid of 144 by subtracting. And divide both sides by negative 8. We get 18. So that is telling me that the only thing that k can be for it to have one solution is 18. If it's anything else, it will have either two solutions or no solution. So this is the only thing that will allow it to have one real solution. A couple reminders that didn't happen in these two problems, but that it's helpful to talk about. If you have to square root an inequality, then you keep the sign the same for the positive answer, and then flip the sign for the negative answer. So let's say for this one it said, like I'll just make up one at the bottom. If we had like k squared is less than 16, and we had to square root both sides, you want to leave the sign the same for the positive and then flip it for the negative. So the square root of 16 is 4. So you would keep it as a less than for positive 4, but then flip it to a greater than for negative 4, and that would be your answer. So that's one important thing that you need to remember. The other thing is if you ever divide by a negative, so like for this one, if we would divide by negative 8, we need to flip our sign. So we get this. So those are the two big things for inequalities you have to remember for these problems.